Lord Belgrave is back, and this time it's about Brics and the XRP ledger. Lord Belgrave claims to be an ex-City London banker with inside knowledge on Ripple's meetings with banks and central banks. Let's go ahead and jump into the information and see what he's got for us today. It starts by, let me tell you something I witnessed firsthand. Brics central banks have been working with the XRP ledger for years. Here is that thread. My first exposure came in 2015. I was working on cross-border liquidity assessment involving European and Latin American flows. In one of the briefing decks, Ripple corridors in Brazil were explicitly referenced as neutral settlement experiments. The deck was circulated to both Santander Brazil and officials linked to Brazil's central bank. He goes on to say, by 2017, I attended a closed-door BIS roundtable in Basel. Representatives from the Reserve Bank of India and the South African Reserve Bank were present. Ripple delivered a presentation on sovereign liquidity nodes and bridge asset corridors. The language was vague but unmistakable. It was the XRP ledger in bankers' vocabulary. In India, the India connection was the clearest. In 2018, I saw a draft MOUs where Ripple Asia via SBI positioned the XRP ledger to integrate with India's UPI system for cross-border extensions. One clause stuck with me. Settlement protocols shall remain permissionless in architecture, but will require identity anchoring consistent with RBI directives. That's XRP ledger with KYC bolted in. MOUs, if you're not familiar, it is Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. He goes on to say, South Africa's case was even more explicit. During Project Coca 2018, which tested DLT for wholesale payments, I reviewed the technical notes. Ripple wasn't listed publicly, but advisors connected to RippleNet were involved. The document referred to deterministic finality in consensus protocols, the XRP ledger's hallmark. Russia and China had to be handled differently. Both couldn't be seen as adopting US-linked technology openly. Instead, the approach was through clearinghouses and consortium language. I recall an NDA excerpt in 2019. Settlement corridors must operate ledger agnostic and public documentation while ensuring deterministic finality with ISO 20022 messaging compliance. Anyone who understands the XRP ledger knows what that means. Commodity flows were the focus. I saw test simulations for oil tokenization. Remember, Russia and the Middle East, oil is their main export. This is how they make a lot of their money. And so you figure if they could find ways to tokenize oil and move that more cheaply and seamlessly, they would make more money. So he saw simulations for oil tokenization, gold settlement corridors, South Africa and China, and carbon credits, Brazil and India. What have we known for the BRICS countries been doing the last few years? They've been buying enormous amounts of gold, unseen at levels for decades, all benchmarked using bridge asset corridors. XRP ledger was the only ledger tested across all categories. You got to remember this was happening back in like 2015 to 2018. What was the only solution back then? You didn't have HBAR back then. Stellar wasn't even up and running until what, like 2017, 2018, without even having some of these partnerships. What was it? They weren't testing Bitcoin. They weren't testing Ethereum. You tell me, guys, right? You tell me. Let's keep it going. He goes on to say, meanwhile, Western media painted Ripple as under siege by the SEC. Behind the curtain, Brics central banks were already stress testing the XRP ledger as a neutral alternative to SWIFT. Spasi. He goes on and says, the signs are there if you know where to look. Brazil's PIX payment references interoperable bridge assets in annexes. India's RBI DLT reports copy XRP ledger vocabulary almost word for word. SAR Project Coca 2 used language identical to Ripple NDA clauses on liquidity orchestration. Stitch this all together. 2015 Ripple pilots in Brazil. 2017 BIS roundtables with India and South Africa. 2018 India UPI extension drafts, Project Coca and Ripple's advisors. 2019 Russia and China NDAs referencing XRP ledger like consensus. The timeline is too clean to ignore. So what's really happening? When Brics announces their independent rails, it will not look like XRP. It'll look like CBDC's sovereign systems and Brics branded platforms. But underneath, the corridors will likely be XRP Ledger compatible because they've been building on it for years. I will share controlled NDA experts I've seen with redactions so you can see the vocabulary for yourself. Words like identity anchored corridors, neutral bridge assets, sovereign liquidity notes. These aren't crypto buzzwords, they're banker documents. Now, just to be very clear, there's no way to confirm who Lord Belgrave actually is, but I do believe there are insiders like this. And you start to understand that these meetings have happened and what technology was around here. You know what? Let's just have a little bit of fun with this. What blockchain these times that is mainly or that can mainly settlement, clearing, and CBDCs? I'm just interested to see if there's like maybe I'm missing something, right? Okay, so it could be Ethereum, fair. Hyperledger Fabric, a permission DLT widely adopted for pilot settlement, Corda, IBM. But see, this stuff came out later though, right? This stuff came out later. Interesting. All right, fair enough. Let's keep it going. I do have some other stuff here. This is from Unknown DLT. Unpopular opinion, the IMF, BIS, DTCC, SWIFT, Fed, BlackRock, the world's largest commercial banks, such as Bank of America, JP Morgan, are allocated a portion of the escrow currently held by Ripple. I have no proof, but no doubts either. It's clear that everyone will use XRP. I can give you some context here. Every month, Ripple unlocks 1 billion XRP from escrow. It's time locked. Every month this year, they've relocked 70% of that. There was one month where they relocked 67, which was 670 million XRP back. Last year, it was mostly 80%. This year, it's 70%. So some of this XRP is going somewhere. Once they start moving from the current accounting system to DLT, XRP will fly very high with no turning back. The runway is ready to take off. XRP, the standard. And then I posted some screenshots asking a little bit more context. It does say the post and your screenshots reflect highly speculative but popular XRP community narratives about major global financial institutions holding or planning to use XRP, particularly via Ripple's escrow. While there is growing institutional interest on Ripple, current evidence shows narrative is mostly based on speculation. So just to be very clear, these two posts, very, very big speculation. The specific claim that the IMF, the BIS, the DTCC, SWIFT, Fed, BlackRock, and giant banks like Bank of America and JP Morgan allocated portions of Ripple's escrow is an opinion and remains unverified by credible sources. This is where people say NDAs come in. There's no way to verify. Leading asset managers such as BlackRock and banks, including JP Morgan, have shown interest in Ripple and attended or spoken at events. However, definitive proof. So this is also something, right? Who comes to Ripple Swell? You often see people from Citi and BlackRock and all of these other major financial institutions. I mean, you have the CEO of the NASDAQ going this year as well. So Ripple does have the connections. They are in these meetings, and you start to wonder what has been said, what has been done, and what has been signed. Institutional adoption: over 350 institutions, including Santander, SBI, PNC, Standard Chartered, have adopted the XRP ledger for cross-border payments via RippleNet, benefiting 70 to 90% lower costs. You are a bank moving billions of dollars per year. You can have a choice. The choice is use Swift, GPI, and ISO messaging and pay an enormous fee. You might get that payment there within the hour. You might get that payment within there in the day. 90% of the payment gets there within the hour or the day, but you still have the costs. Now, if you could get the payment there faster than an hour, maybe within a few minutes or maybe within a few seconds, depending on how quick or slow your bank system moves, right? The money moves instantaneously, we know that, but sometimes it takes time to update and clarify and all that stuff. If you can save 70 to 90% and lower your cost and get your payments there faster and get rid of pre-funding accounts, you're gonna tell me that you as a CEO, you as a leader of a business that is there to make money and make your clients happy, you're not gonna make that decision? I don't know, man. I'm not the leader and founder of a bank. I don't have to make these tough decisions, but some people do. Some people are. XRP ETF and regulatory clarity: following the 2025 SEC settlement, spot XRP ETFs have been approved and have driven institutional inflows, highlighting genuine institutional interest. BlackRock and others are to be rumored to explore the file for such ETFs. It does talk about more rumors and speculation, but let's keep it going here. I did do a video talking more about this, all the money in phases. I'm not going to get into this too much right now, other than to tell you XRP is positioned to help the world payment rail integration, CBDC and government adoption, tokenization of real world assets, liquidity hub adoption, regulatory green light derivatives, and world scale escrow unlocked strategically IMF ESDR BIS tier 1 asset. This is why I hold XRP. Why do you hold it? Let me know down below.
I have just built a course for beginners, intermediaries, and experts of XRP to better understand the XRP ledger and Ripple, the company. If you're interested in getting that course absolutely free, there's a link down in the description. Please let me know what you think after you've taken the course. Aloha.